So, and I would like to say a couple things after it, so if you would just bear with me for a while. But
tripod. Oh,
this was done by my wife Sally, and it says, it officially started when Donna and Jim were married in 1994. While Bruce and I were standing with Mike and Kim at their wedding reception, Jim came up to us and said in a weird distorted voice, "Now I'm family." Just think, I'm part of your family now. We looked at each other and laughed and wondered, what the hell did Donna get herself into? Shortly after that, I knew Jim would fit right in with the Hammond and the Magazi family. The countless family get-togethers that we hosted at our house and the vacations that Bruce and I were able to take with Donna and Jim were extremely important part of all our lives, and were always filled with laugh, banter, sarcasm, and especially love. We have so many wonderful memories. It was until September of 2015 I got to know the real Jim. I was very lucky to be able to take Jim to his doctor visits and appointments and be part of his journey along with Donna. It wasn't until Jim started writing in Caring Bridge that I realized what an eloquent writer he was. He'd keep his friends and family informed on how he was feeling and of his updates. Jim's words were always full of hope, love, and inspiration. It was amazing to see all the support he received from the friends and family, and Jim was given such beautiful words of encouragement. The staff at Freighter Hospital and Zilber Hospice were amazing, so full of love and kindness. Throughout his journey, Jim always remained positive. He would joke around with everyone, and yes, you know Jim, he constantly would be flirting with them also. They'd always tell us that Jim was their favorite patient, but I know he loved them just as much as they loved him. Jim and I talked many times during his cancer about various things. He'd tell me not to worry, that he'd be in the space between the beats of our heart, that we'd have to do is look around. And now, it's there. Jim also wanted this to be his journey, and to be able to choose how to travel. He'd choose to continue his journey with strength, hope, inspiration, dignity, positivity, self-worth, humor, charm, grace, and love. The same way he traveled through life. He didn't want people to be sad. He wanted the people to celebrate his life, to have fun, to be positive, and to always keep him in their hearts. Jim has touched so many people's lives, and I know he's smiling down on all of us now. That was put together by my wife Sally, and she couldn't be up here to read it, which I'm sure you all understand. But I would like to just say a few words about Jim, kind of off the cuff. Jim had a lot of chapters in his life, that we all know about. He loved to read, and his life was kind of like a book. But there was a lot of chapters in his life. Many of his family and friends here have been through a lot of them. They were his life as a Sikh, as a cab driver, and even as an accomplished massage therapist. I really didn't get to know Jim until his last 2 decades of his life, and he always stated that these were the best part of his life. It was because my sister Donna, his reunion with his daughter Whitney, his son Mark, and his newest grandson. I was very honored to be with Jim through the last 5 years, because we kind of did things on our bucket list together. They were trips to Las Vegas, to New Mexico, hot air ballooning, and lots of different things. And I was extremely appreciative to be with him this last year, on his journey. But I have to tell you that if it wasn't for my wife, Sally, Jim would not have made this journey, okay? Together, she was there for every doctor appointment, for every chemotherapy, for every meeting. And out of all the negative, she found encouraging things, and together they built on that. So if you had any time with Jim in this last year that you have cherished, make sure you thank my wife, because she was a part of it. I am proud to be considered part of the Doucette family. Yeah. Even though I questioned it at times. But
we all did.
I said to somebody here, a good friend of mine, I said, if I moved on today or tomorrow, I don't think I could fill 2 of these tables. So this has been a wonderful tribute to Jim and Donna, and I thank you for sharing this special moment with us. And God bless you all.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
How you doing?
I'm good. Like really, I'm on my face.
You turn around, you know people.
Right.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jim's brother from California, Jeff, and some of you do a double take because you think I look just like him. And walking around today and meeting a lot of you and hearing the things you loved about Jim, it touched me because they're the very same things we all loved about Jim. But I just wanted to give a perspective from my point of view, from being his older brother, and telling you what my journey with Jim was like. We come from a big family, and there's 8 kids, and in big families, the kids form little cliques. And some of us, they all share similar experiences or their age. They group themselves according to age or experience or likes or dislikes. In our family, we had 5 boys first. We had Mike, Jeff, Tim, Jim, Dave. And of course, the boys have a natural clique. We always said we have our own team here. And then we had the 3 girls, Jane, Judy, and Annie. And I'm still eating my meatball, so if I'm swallowing, I'm sorry.
It's a boy thing.
What? A meatball. I'm still eating a meatball now.
Oh, I thought.
My brother Tim and I were always competing with each other athletically and in every other way.
Yeah.
And Jim and Dave got into their own kind of mischief by themselves, and so I was always aware of Jim being there, but being an older brother, it's his presence is somewhere in the house, but don't bother me with that stuff. I'm into my own thing, So I went away to school, and so Jim was going into high school and all that stuff, so I just didn't have much contact with Jim for a long, long time. And then when Jim came back from his adventures in Kansas City, and he had a new wife and a new spiritual practice and a turban. And evidently I missed some transitions along the way. But after I did a double take or 2 on his turban, I felt this great connection because I'd always been seeking spirituality myself. And for years, and then turban aside, I knew exactly where Jim was coming from. And I felt the connection, instant. And it never left us. We always shared that connection. During this period of new discovery of brothers and everything, the whole family experienced what I call the power of garlic. In order to get through to Jim's spirit, or even to give him a hug, you had to fight through an immense odor of garlic. Because he used to eat it, he'd pop it down by the handful. He would pop down garlic, and it was just emanating from all of his pores. And evidently, it was healthy. And so he just smelled it. He was like a giant bowl of scampi without the butter sauce. And thankfully, this phase only lasted a few years, and we could put away the Febreze and forget about it. But all that time, I knew what he was doing. It wasn't my path, but it was his path, and we connected on a spiritual level. We wouldn't have done it the same way, but I loved what he was doing. And then Jim was driving cab for a while, and that's where he met Donna, I think. Isn't it, Donna? Yeah. And I remember coming home on one visit. I was in Chicago doing comedy in Second City and stuff like that, and I came home one time. I was actually in LA by this time, and I came home in the 90s, sometime early in the 90s, and I remember mentioning to Jim that, Jim, you know what the new thing is now? Because everybody's going to want to relieve anxiety, and corporations are hiring people to come in and help relieve anxiety and increase productivity, and they need masseuses. And I said, it's going to be the big thing. He said, really? I said, really, try it. So he was driving our cab, and it had to be something better than that. So he evidently got into being a masseuse, and quite a masseuse he was, because he turned out to be one of the best in Milwaukee. And a lot of you I know I've talked to, he's worked on your body. With all of his knowledge of Kundalini yoga and the body in general, it was just a natural thing for him to do. And I just knew that, and I'm so glad as a big brother I was able to give him that guidance, and he took it. Page 2. Then came what I call the my pants era. I came home to Milwaukee about 10 years ago, and I told the family what a funny thing it is if you ever have to answer a question. It's always funny to say whatever it is you have in your pants. And so Jim would you want a screwdriver? Yeah, I got a screwdriver in my pants. What you want some different music on here? I got some music in my pants. And so anything you say, if you add in my pants, it's funny. So I made that mistake of telling him, and the rest of us never heard the end of it. I would tell him jokes, and I'd hear these jokes myself. I'd say, "Where do you get these?" He says, "I got it from you." He never forgot anything like that. He was the best appreciator in the world. So I remember when my dad was dying, I went down to North Carolina to visit him. And this is the first person close to me that ever died. And I mean, we've been very blessed as a family. We have not had a lot of personal tragedy in our life, but when my dad was going, but he was older and we knew he was going, and I went down to visit him, and he was in a kind of a barely conscious state, and he was communing with his ancestors who were in the form of pictures on a dresser across from him. And he called me over. He had almost no energy, and in one of his lucid moments, he went, "Oh, Joe." He called me over, and so I got over a little closer, like he wanted to tell me something. And he said, "Oh, closer." So I got even closer, and I got to where my ear was almost touching his lips. And then he goes, on my cheek. All these little kiss pecks on my cheek, and I just went, "Oh my God, oh Dad." He didn't have much to say, that's all he could say. He could just give me all those kisses. So my dad is always with me. He lives on my shoulder, and he's always giving me little kiss pecks whenever I need them. And I've discovered that Jim is always with me too. In my pants! No, but all seriousness aside, Jim is there when I'm totally absorbed in the moment. When I'm there, when I'm really, really taken in with everything that's going on around me, the colors are more vivid, the time slows down, that's when Jim is with me. And he taught me how to do a lot of that. He's there when there's a lot of family around and laughter. Jim was a big appreciator, like I said, and he just loved to laugh. So that's what we had a lot of fun making him do. And then he's with me whenever I see food coming off the barbecue and people salivating, and he's feeding them all. And one of my favorite moments to share with Jim, and I think some of you might have had some of these moments yourself. It's the memory of looking into his eyes. And seeing that, I don't know how to describe it, it's a knowing, flirtatious twinkle. Completely absent of judgment and full of knowing and acceptance. And there was no words needed in these moments, but so much was said. I think Jim would want us to remember him that way. That no matter what passes between us, our family, we had our petty little squabbles like all families, but last year when we got together to give Jim support, all of those squabbles were put aside and we filled the place with love. And that's all Jim wanted. And I think that's still carrying on to this day. We're still living in those moments of love and filling ourselves with that. And that's what Jim taught us, how to go gracefully and how to bring people together in love. And there will always be that beautiful connection between us. Spirit to spirit. And we all know each other so well, and living in that knowing is the greatest tribute that we can pay to Jim's loving spirit. Thank you.
Say it again.
Hello. As I'm standing here next to my daughter, I am seeing firsthand how Jim was so loved. And he loved all of you as well. Thank you for celebrating with us. She's trying to get the microphone out of my face.
Oh well.
I really appreciate all of you coming. I told people at North Shore Elite, where Jim used to work, that I wanted a party because that's what Jim wanted. He just wanted a party. And we have a party.
Yeah.
So let's all celebrate. The food will be served shortly, and let's just make it a party to remember in honor of Jim. Thank you all for coming.
All right.
Love you.
I'm not going to put the phone to my mouth because I got a loud mouth anyway. Thank you. I want Donna. I want Whitney. I want Chu up here for my support and their support. On their support, I want Donna up here, second mom. Second mom. Where's second mom? I want Whitney and I want Chu, my son-in-law, up here. Could you please step up? I want Donna up here, such a beautiful person. I'll keep it short. I want my daughter, I want my son-in-law up here, my beautiful daughter. I wish my son was here, but you know how that go. It's all about today.
Go into the mic.
Speak in the mic.
Yeah.
I'm so short, but I don't want my voice to
It won't go
travel.
down anymore.
That's all right, I'm fine.
Look at that.
All right, Doucette.
All right.
First of all, I'd like to tell you that I met Jim in the 80s on a job. I used to cry all the time, and we met. Strictly Yippee. a yuppie. Nice guy, nice spirit. Didn't know anything about yoga until he just mentioned it. I'm learning also about him. Jim had a free spirit. This lady here is a beautiful lady. We learned how to grow up. I thank God that we have this moment, although it's a sad moment, but it's a beautiful spirit moment. And I have to say, I'm a Southern girl. Excuse my accent, but I am who I am. I have that support. My daughter learned me a lot. Jim learned me a lot. Free spirit, long hair. Didn't understand him because I thought he was a weirdo. Didn't have a clue what he was talking about. I was like, he put a lot of people through a handful. He was a handful, but he was a jolly handful. In the end, you couldn't hate him, you have to love him. It's like, okay, that was just him. Thank Mom. I came out of a family of 8. Really, it's 20 of us. This is a moment that we should, I feel like he wants us to enjoy, celebrate his life. I appreciate the blessings. Jeff was the first person on my wall. I have a 44-year-old. Didn't know, thought it was so cool that he had someone is a movie star in the doggone movie television. Oh, wow. I think I saw Jeff on television. And I appreciate that Donna he found his soulmate. He really did. And this girl right here is a blessing. It's a blessing to all of us. It makes you appreciate life. He wanted you to be happy. He was a free spirit. He was a person, and I knew Mark when he was 4 years old. Mark is a blessing. That baby is a blessing. And I feel like he wants everybody, and he's a butterfly. Because my daughter would say, oh, Dad, I said, you was a blessing. She said, Mom, I'm going to put this on the back of my shoulder. I am a blessing. She went and got a tattoo and said, I love my dad. When she finished school, I said, go find your daddy. Go find your brother. I want you to know the Doucettes. She had 5 names. Why did you mess me up like that? I was like, well, I had no parts of it. 20 years in the making. I was like, oh, wow. So I was like, well, my family was like, oh, wow, you have a baby. Oh, good grief, she cannot comb her hair. What's going to happen? Jim was a goofy person. He was a guitar person. He had a guitar in his hand, yipping. And I thought that was the weirdest thing. I was like, oh my God. And Jim, you have a lot of things you have to deal with family when they're big. And my son was like, and he's Robert, I have to put him in it too. He says, Mom, I want you to name her Sherelle. She came up with 5 names, and all of my people from Detroit, when they found out that I was having a baby, they was like, oh my God, what's going on with this one? So I had all the Detroit supporters. Jim said, Donna gonna kill me. Well, she have to kill you. And I know right then that he was in love, and he found his soulmate. And I'm happy for that. I have no regrets for that. Because she's the one that did it. She's the one that gave him a life that he didn't have, that he was searching for. And I always said, follow your heart. Follow your heart, and wherever your heart leads you, that's where you goes. And he followed his heart. And that's where he went. And I'm so appreciative and so grateful to have my son-in-law, my daughter. She's smart, she taught, and I said, you have 2 mothers. Mom, call her Mama 1, whatever you want to do. Mama 1, number 2. Donna is a blessing to all of us. Jim is a free spirit. And remember the butterflies. The butterflies, when you see a butterfly or the star or the darkness or the moon, think of Jim, because he's in those stars. He's in those skies. I support my daughter. He says my daughter is everything. I know that this was a Doucette right here.
She said, Mama, why did you start this? She said, and I'm sorry, but she said, Mama, I'm a Doucette. I said, that's what you are. Thank you.
Let's everyone raise their glasses and just give a little toast to Jim and say, Jim, thank you for the memories.
Jim, thank you for the memories.
They left me on. I'm sorry.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's really kind of overwhelming to see how much love my dad had out there from all of you all. And I really appreciate that you're all here. I don't even know what to say. I really don't. I know my dad wanted us all to be happy, but I'm so incredibly sad because I miss him so much. And I didn't know that that was going to happen, but as he's passed, like I've had to understand that like all my memories in my entire life, they all include him. And I miss him. And we probably will all miss him. And he had such a wonderful spirit about him. It was my entire life. I learned so much from him, and it's funny, you can take for granted so many things. And when it all comes due, you realize that you have a big debt. And I owe my dad so much. I owe him everything. And I hope that, I don't know, I hope that I can live in 1/10 of his shoes. He's such a good man. And I'm happy that you're all here to celebrate his life, because that's exactly what he would have wanted. In case you didn't know, I'm his son. We're all here because he loved you all just as much as you love him.
What's his name?
And that should just never stop. I remember when he was coming towards the end, I never really thought of it, but I realized that I'd kind of, when death is sitting in the room, you realize that there's always neglect. There's always a feeling like you kind of failed a little bit. And that's only because the breaths are coming to an end. We don't get an unlimited supply. And it just struck me, and I think it would have struck him, that we all, if there's one thing to walk away from with this, it's to remember that we all need each other's love. I remember at the very end, he just kept saying that love was all that was important. And he just kept repeating it. And part of me was just like, I don't even know how to take that for what it is. Love really is all there is. We're all in each other's care, and we're all responsible for each other, and we all have to do a better job. We all have to do a good job. We all have to continue to do the great job that we're already doing, whatever it is. I love you all. I know my dad loves you all.
You gotta tell. You gotta make us laugh.
I want my husband's friend to tell the story about the Packer Virgin. Come on. Please.
I'm not good at this.
Okay, you're gonna do it. I'm gonna help you.
Tell the story, Bob.
I met Jim through his brother Dave. We went to a Packer game one week, and we're sitting in the bleachers, and Jim decides to call Donna and tell him where he's sitting in the bleachers.
Why is that?
And it was at the end zone on the north side. And look for me, I'm in the orange hat.
It was hunting season.
I turned around, tapped him on the forehead and said, dude, look around. There's a lot of orange hats. And he goes, oh shoot, Donna, you're not gonna find me. Well, I wanted to come and see him before he passed away. And I happened to walk into a Fleet Farm in Waukesha. I was looking for stain for my deck that I was gonna stain that week because it was gonna be a couple warm days. Well, what's staring me when I walked in the store was all the hunting gear, and the orange hat was staring me right in the face. So I wanted to go see him. I bought the orange hat, went to the register, never bought the stain. I tore the label off the hat, put it in my back pocket. I went to see Jim. And yes, I paid for it. So I'm standing there and giving him a hug, and I said, dude, there's something I will never forget. And I pulled out the orange hat, put it on his head. What's that?
You can have some, it's mine.
Where was the hat?
Yeah, in my pants. But what I wanted to say was, he did have that glow in his eyes. He didn't really say too much, he whispered to me, but I could tell right there that that was the best thing I could do for him. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Way to go, Bob.
My dear friend Donna. Donna Ghazi. Ghazi.
My first friend that I met at the IRS.
On the down low.
She doesn't work there anymore, though.
Yay!
Our friendship began almost immediately upon your employment with the IRS. Even then, you knew that Jim was the love of your life.
Use the mic.
On this day, I see you glow in your face and feel the warm love and affection in your core whenever you speak of Jim. Your relationship and marriage are an inspiration to others to believe in true love, because it does still exist. Not sure why Jim never started a career in writing, because he was a true artist with words. And then again, his calling here on earth touched so many lives as he inspired and encouraged others during his walkabout. And of course, it would be Jim's wish. It would be Jim's wish to bring us all together.
Yep.
And to remind us to continue to spread the love, inspire others, and to stay focused on the important elements of life, which is friendship and love. I'm compelled to read this poem, a psalm and a reminder that reminds me a lot of Jim. I leave my thoughts, my laughter, my dreams to you, whom I have treasured beyond gold and precious gems. I give you what no thief can steal, the memories of our time together, the tender, filled moments, the success we have shared, the hard times that brought us closer together, and the roads we have walked side by side. I also leave you a solemn promise that after I am home in the bosom of God, that I will still be present whenever and wherever you call on me. My energy will be the drawn to you by the magnet of our love. When you are in need, call me.
That's your dad.
I will come to you with my arms full of wisdom and light to open up your blocked path, to untangle your knot, and to be your avenue to God. And all I take with me as I leave is your love and the millions of memories of all that you have shared. So I truly enter my new life as a millionaire. Fear not, nor grieve of my departure. You whom I have loved so much, Marcus, Brittany, Donna, and the whole family. For my roots and yours are forever intertwined. Thank you.
Jim. We all love him. Sue loves him, Judy loves him, Kathy loves him. We all love him because when each of us went to have a massage, we knew that we were his favorite client. He made each of us feel so special, so very special. And I have 4 daughters who live all out of town, but whenever they'd come to town, they had to have a massage from Jim. And Jim cared about every one of them and loved them, even though he didn't see them very often. And they couldn't wait to get to town, I don't think to see us, but to have a massage from Jim. So he's made a huge impression, I think, on so many lives. He even got my husband to start going for massages. He never had a massage in his life. I mean, once you went to Jim, you were his client, you were his friend, and you loved him, and you knew that he loved you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Craig J. And I first met Jim through the yoga classes at the North Shore Elite that my wife Martha started going through many years ago. And she kept coming home talking about this man she was spending all this time with. And we've heard plenty about Jim's flirting, so I figured either I was going to lose my wife or I had to take up yoga. So that's what I did. Jim was an astonishing practitioner of yoga instruction, and I don't know how many people in the room took yoga from Jim. Yeah, so you know. It was always a time of spiritual grace. It was always a time of finding yourself. It was always a time for terrible jokes. It was always a time that took you out of your normal humdrum space. And I just grew to love this man, to love his spirit, and to treasure those times that I had with him. We were blessed to be able to share our place in New Mexico with Donna and Jim on a few occasions. And you've got some photos up here of some of their trips to New Mexico, which is where Jim started his spiritual practice at the Sikh training in Espanola there, near to our place. And we were really pleased that just last year Jim was able to make a final pilgrimage to Santa Fe, and for he and Donna to be there. The last thing I want to do, though, is to pay tribute to Donna. Jim never let very many moments go by without talking about how much he loved Donna and how important Donna was in his life and what a treasure Donna was for Jim, and I know vice versa. So I'm heartbroken about losing Jim, but I also take away from it this incredible model of love between two people. And I just want to give my heart out to Donna for all that she and Jim we're able to do in this life together and on the journey that they've had, and I know that he's always with her. To you, Donna, all my love.
Yes.
Here they come.
Hi, you all. Okay, my name is Pam. I met Jim 20 years ago when he would bring Donna in to get her nails done by Miss Janet. And every time he came in, he had this swag, this personality. And I'm like, oh my God, you remind me of someone, but I can't put my finger on it. Maybe the third or fourth time he came in, I'm like, oh my God. He had his Kangol hat turned backwards. He had his sunglasses on, and he had this swag like, yeah, I'm bringing this beautiful woman into the salon to get her nails done. I'm like, I know who you are. You are Bruce Willis. And we have called him that for 20 years. We have always called him that. But my favorite memories of him and Donna are at Club Doucette, at their backyard, on their patio, in his beautiful garden. They had a spread for a queen and a king, and they had the wine and the alcohol and the music, and it was always on my birthday, and they'd always give me these singing cards. The best is yet to come. It was like awesome. But what I remember of Donna, she'd be like, Jim, can you put the music up higher? Jim, can you change the CD? Jim, can you bring more wine out? And oh my God, he was so happy to dote on her. He adored her. He worshiped the ground she walked on. He loved her so much. So much. And Donna, I can't see where you are, but thank you for sharing him with us. We are all blessed to have had him in our life. And Donna, we love you and we'll be there for you forever. And now Pam and Janet.
You want to follow and act like that? So one of my favorite visits I nicknamed it Club Doucette. One night, we're all eating like queens and kings, and we heard about this new dance called twerking. And we thought, well, we all have kids, we can twerk. So Jim, of course, is like, I would like to see that. We end up in their kitchen, and Janet is quite talented.
And she twerked in my face.
Proceeded to do a handstand against the closet and show us how to twerk with a handstand. Now, this wasn't even enough. Jim was like, you got more? I didn't know Jim 20 years, but I'm Donna's hairdresser, and man, I feel blessed to have known that guy. And I always get the saying mixed up, but I know that the family knows. Every time he saw me, he was like, hey, Pammy, it's all about love. Love is all there is. And I used to say, you stole that from the Beatles.
And you know what? And they share hats. Yes, you did.
Anyway, I'm sorry to his family, and I'm sorry to his friends. And I'll never forget him, and I know he's with me, because that spirituality you talked about, Jeff, I feel it too with him. I really do. Donna, we love you wherever you are. There you are. Get up here. Anyway, we feel really blessed to be here.
We love you, Jim.
Thank you.
About Jim and I and the funny things that we did. We used to have this game that we play with each other to try and catch each other by saying, "Who's your baby?" And we'd go out of the blue and just all of a sudden go, "Who's your baby?" So it was a stupid thing, but one time, and it always had to be in the form of a question. And so one time we were driving in the car and I said, "Jim, I'm going to ask you a question, but you have to promise not to get mad." And he said, "Oh, don't do that to me. No, just ask me." And I said, "No, you have to promise not to be mad." And he's like, "I'm not going to promise that." And I said, "Then I'm not going to ask it." And we kept going back and forth like that and back and forth like that. And he was like, "All right, I promise not to get mad." And then I went in his face and I went, "Who's your baby?" But he really got me one night back. And I think he must have taken a lot of time to think about this. And he said, "What do you call an infant born in Indiana?"
Who's your baby?
Who's your baby? So that's my funny story.
All right.
Hey, leave some. Hey.
I don't think I look like Jim. But I am the youngest. I am the youngest of the Doucettes, yes. I'm Jim's baby sister, Annie. And I am not very good at speaking, seriously. Nowhere near as good as my actor brother, or Jim, who spoke through his written word and through his heart, or Marcus, who speaks for a living. But I do want to tell you that, Marcus, when you were up here talking, I think you underestimate your worth and your value to your dad. Just today, for whatever reason, I just had this thing. Jim didn't have a voice the last several months of his life. He was down to a whisper because of the effects of the chemo. And I just wanted to hear his voice. And I remembered that there was, not very well done, but it was a video he did for Channel 12 where he talked about things you could do to help you get to sleep. And I wanted to call it up and just so I could hear his voice and see him in action. And I did that. And as I Googled Jim Doucette, Milwaukee, because there's a lot of Jim Doucettes in this world, believe it or not. So you have to narrow the search.
You wasn't responsible for it.
No, he wasn't. No. But then somehow Marcus Doucette slipped into the thing. So I started looking at things with Marcus, and there's lots of Google them. There's lots of articles, on Milwaukee.com, whatever, Mr. DJ, whatever, hot stuff. But after one of the articles there, where they were talking about, I don't know which one it was, but singing Marcus's praises, there was a note from Papa Jim. And actually he wrote two of them on the same day, like within an hour. And he just talked, Marcus, about the spirit that you are and the love that you are to him and how proud he is of you. So carry that with you. Carry that with you, man. All right? And Whitney, oh my God, what a treasure that we have embraced in our family, that we got to know. It's like, surprise, you have another niece.
Almost surprising.
Yeah. What? Oh yeah, she's 18. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. We don't have to go through that throw up stage or anything like that. But lo and behold, we're introduced to this beautiful, beautiful girl. Look at, she's walking out of the room. Come on, girl. All right. And not only was she a very welcome and loving addition to our family, she really, really brought Jim so much love and just pride. He was so proud of you, Whitney. And you and Chew, I don't know if anybody's been talking about Chew, but he's kind of the quiet tag along, I guess.
not so much anymore, he's Mr. Whitney. But Whitney and Chu were there every weekend. When Donna and Jim were both laid up last Christmas, I mean, how much does that suck, right? I mean, they were both in the hospital over Christmas, but Whitney and Chu were there every weekend, helping them with yard work or helping them around the house, whatever they needed, they were there all the time. And so really, you guys, you did your dad proud. And he loved you so much, and we all love you so much. So thank you so much for being part of the family. And Donna? Where you at, girlfriend? Are you drinking back there? All right, good for you. Way to go. Way to celebrate. All right. Donna, you are our sister and will always be our sister.
Yes.
We love you. We will be there for you. You're forever in our hearts and our lives. Love you all.
Okay, sorry you guys, I'm not that good at these things.
You're
even
great.
though I'm a comm major.
Comm graduate.
Comm graduate.
Yay.
Sorry, bear with me. Bear with me. It's definitely been a transformational journey these past 6 years. I always had in the back of my mind, who am I? Where's my family? Who am I? Where's my dad? And things of that nature. And then 6 years ago, it started off with a Facebook message. And it said, "Dear long lost father," on his Facebook page. And it was this long, long letter. And I was like, okay, I don't expect a response out of this. But within that same day, he responded. And that's when the relationship sparked all back up again. I'm sorry.
Love you, Whitney.
I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry. It's fine.
And that's when it started again. And he accepted me and Donna and the whole Doucette family accepted me right away. And it's like those 18 years past was non-existent. It felt like I just jumped right in. With so much love, so much acceptance, so much advice. I'm sorry. And I miss you, Dad. In these past 6 years, of course it doesn't seem long enough, but it meant the world. It really did. And I appreciate and seeing everyone today just to know that he was such a great man. And he, as I like to say, he left his footprint here and his impression on everybody's hearts. And I just wish it was longer. And I'm sorry I can't speak for longer, or else I'll have a mental breakdown. But.
Whitney is the blessing that Jim left me. We split up for one summer. In the 32 years that we were together, we split up for one summer and started seeing other people because Jim wouldn't commit.
And boom, I'm here.
This is the summer we split up. And Jim was going to look her up when she turned 18 and he was waiting for that, but she beat him to it.
Nice.
So, and this is the gift that Jim gave me that will forever be here.
Yeah.
And we are family. We are family.
And Ginny.
Has to be somebody from the older generation too. I have a couple of stories to tell you. One of them involves his mom. And that is, Jim was born on the same day as his mother.
Yes. Yep.
March 1st was her birthday. March 1st is Jim's birthday. And I remember vividly that she called me that day to say, oh my God, I'm in labor and I want my birthday cake. I'm not going to the hospital until I get my birthday cake. They lived right across the street from St. Joseph's Hospital, so it was perfect. She had her birthday cake, and then she went and had Jim, who was a little candle on her birthday cake.
That's why he was so sweet.
We Brennans were in the same community as the Doucets, and we had approximately the same number of kids, mostly boys, and we loved to go to Betty's house for lunch because she had all the stuff I would never give my kids. Hot dogs, Twinkies, chips, and so we all went and had a marvelous time. And then Betty and I would drive them back to school doing something, please don't tell your kids this, but we would, in 2 separate cars, we would speed and then slam on the brakes. And they loved it because they all flew. Terrible, don't do it. It was a lot of fun. It was before the days of a lot of people on the streets, so we were able to do it. But I did get a little message from, not a little message, a message from my son Joe. I want to tell you that every one of my children, all of Jim's cousins, were given the Caring Bridge by me. I emailed them to everybody, and they were so deeply impressed. They just couldn't believe that this crazy guy that they knew as kids was a guy who had such deep thoughts about everything. And I think that what it did for that generation of people was to have them understand what it is like to be faced with an emergency like Jim was faced with, a terrible death sentence that he managed to turn into something very beautiful. And every one of them, and I have a couple of writers in my family, but every one of them talked about what a superb writer he was. So I would say kudos to Jim to have impressed all his cousins as he did. I'm going to read you just a very brief little message from his brother, if I can find it.
From cousin.
His cousin.
They were like brothers.
Siri is on there saying, what can I help you? Can't hear it. Siri was on there. Okay, here it is.
You don't know who Siri is.
Siri is the button you push that says to you, what can I do for you?
I know what it is. Don't even bother.
Oh, she's still telling me, what can I help you with?
Jim, help Mom. Jeff, help Mom.
Next, I had it.
A message? Just hit the button at the bottom.
From Joe. At the bottom.
Do you know what program it was?
She needs an email. I'm way back here.
Is it an email?
Yes.
It's an email from Joe.
Okay.
Here.
Thanks, Jeff.
You have to go down or up or down?
It's Jeff.
Error password. Oh my God.
No, he said thanks, Tim. No, I said he said Jim. Good, I'm so glad you heard it too.
Hang on, everybody. It's coming.
Because you didn't get up.
It was Joe.
Just tell us what he said.
Well, we gotta find what Joe said.
Make it up.
Oh, really?
She's only going to read
Kitty.
Joe, does it say Joe on it?
That's locked her anyway.
This is her machine. She can show it. You can read it. Because I can't find it. Of course, when you're my age, it is difficult to find these things. What it said essentially was he remembered very vividly playing with Jim in Estabrook Park.
Yeah.
And they played Confederate soldiers. And they were shooting all the enemy with their muskets.
Who's this
Is
from,
what he
Jimmy?
was talking about.
You're the one who
Joe.
shot.
Who's this from?
It was from Joe.
Yeah, they shot. Who is roughly Jim's age. I think.
Dave was there.
You were there too, Dave?
Yeah, with Vic Kearney.
Well, you can tell the story, but anyway, Joe was just talking about what fun you had had together as cousins, and it was Estabrook Park, and you shot muskets against the other revolutionaries, and this was a big deal to him. That's what he said.
He loved you.
There you are. This is from the Brennans, who are cousins of
I don't want to
the
rush you.
Doucets.
Yes.
Anyone else? There's plenty of room.
Okay, friends, okay.
Sing it again.
All you need is love. Da da da. All you need is love. Da da da. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Gorgeous Jane.
Now,
We suck at that.
You gotta have the
Even if it doesn't, not a big deal. Yeah.
Hi.
I can call it.
Hi.
Be careful.
Are you guys leaving?
We're leaving. Bye, Sue.
Tell them to say goodbye.
Goodbye. It was such a nice evening. Everything was just beautiful.
It's good seeing you, Seba. Say goodbye.
What's that?
Say goodbye to Donna. Say goodbye to Donna.
I didn't hear her.
Yeah, he don't hear a thing. Say goodbye to Donna.
Who got Pete?
Bye-bye, Donna. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Love you.
Bye, Seba. Good seeing you. Great seeing you.
Okay, sure. Okay, I'll bring it back. Yeah, absolutely. That's fine. Hey, Janet, I need another drink.
No!
I need another drink.
Janet!
Oh, Janet.
He's a good bartender in your factory. I mean, my friends don't like to do things on the weekend. They just want to be done. That's what they're doing. Hello.
Southern Comfort and Diet Squirt.
I was getting nice.
Are kind of variations of or
Brayden.
close to the real people that were there.
Robbie wants your help.
Say goodbye.
Robbie wants your help. Bye.
So I mean, as they're doing it, I'm going, no,
Do I have like milkshake all over my mouth? This is a good milkshake.
Get some perspective.
Hello!
Yeah, I've got to drive home. My husband said,
Hello! Very scary. Hello, my darling. Hello, my baby. Hello, my ragtime gal.
Ragtime. Yeah.
you remember that cartoon?
Hello, my honey. Hello, my baby.
Yay, California. Jeff White.
Here, hold the camera.
Yay.
It was a great cartoon.
Here.
What am I doing?
I'll be a cinematographer for a day.
Okay.
What am I?
I haven't been on this. I was taking all this video for you, Donna, so I'm not really on it, but I'm on it now to tell you I love you so much, and I miss you, and I hope you enjoy all the video that was shot, so you could just sit and
Yes, I'm
Good.
I get my back working.
I know.
I should have known that.
If you look at it,
okay.
Does it pop up?
It turned off. No, it turned off when I hit that. Uh-oh.
I don't know what what.
Okay, I open up the lens. Oh, I see a little red dot.
Yeah, so it's recording right now. So when you want to stop recording, you
Better. A lot better.
Video? Jane, that's my new camera. Okay.
Pam, another Pam.
Pam, hi Pam. Pam? Pam and a Pam.
Pam squared.
Pam and Pam. Yep, Pam squared. And you're a Pam. Pam tripled. Smile.
You're on camera.
When you least
Sing it out.
How much?
Could be pneumonia, right?
We're by the bar.
I just go there and they have it like.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, good, and you? Very good. Good. Oh, thanks for.
But after this, you'll come over and we'll do a shot. Okay. But after we work out. Okay. I need to work out and then shots. Jim thought you were great.
We'll give it a few years. You know, that whole image there is, I think, quite a cinematographer there. She's a filmmaker.
I think it just snuck it.
Take a picture of my chest.
Now say it. There you go.
All right, Fellini.
The
Maestro.
I'll get in it later.
So what are you doing?